Good evening. This is Crow with today's feature, You Never Know with Crow. Unlike the other weekdays where we have been having the 10 minutes Caws. So, what is the difference? The 10 minutes Caws are about 10 minutes long, a bit longer, but this Sunday feature is an interview or a chat or a presentation of a certain topic. You never know. And it's a bit longer, so that you can ask more questions because one of the feedbacks that we have been getting from the other ones are they're a bit too short. Well, some Sundays you have some more time to ask your questions to the guest that I'm bringing or the topic that we are presenting. And if you remember, if you've been following us, every Friday we have a feature called Dressed to the Nines with Alexa. And I promised that I would bring Alexa back to talk a bit more about her project called Queering Style. So that's what we'll do today. We'll pass her the screen. And hi there, Alexa.
Hey!
Hey.
Hello!
Good evening, because I know it's evening where you are. So,
Yeah, sure.
how have you been since Friday?
Very well. The summer kind of just started, I guess, and it was a really warm day, and there's
It
a
was
really warm
indeed.
night, so I'm happy. I like warm.
Let's just welcome here in the chat. And say hi to people.
Hey!
So on Friday, so you're doing our Friday features for those who have not been following, called Dress to the Nines with some fashion tips. And we had an interesting chat about pins last Friday
We did.
and a bit about your project, where I said just give us a glimpse of it because we're going to discuss it more in depth. So I don't know where to start with the project or with the question because there was an unleft question by someone about the pins. I think we could start there.
Yeah.
And you gave us some nice tips. And the question that we did not answer because it was put right at the end of the show was, can pins be used in a sarcastic way?
Yes. Please. Please, I mean,
why did I have the idea that you would say that? Yes, please.
I mean, because I mean, pins are statements. I mean, they are their purpose is exactly to bring a bit of fun of sarcasm. To I mean, if you're already wearing a pin, so you might as well
Yeah.
also have it in a sarcastic way. And I think because I wear pins to make statements, then if you do it in a sarcastic way, that people go like for instance, if I have a cat on my lapel or something like that, people are like, oh, that's such a nice pin. But some people will see that I'm talking about pussies, which means, maybe I'm a lesbian who likes, to eat puss. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a
I would
sarcastic
probably
way.
tell you I'm a dog person.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think it's very important to use them in sarcastic ways, and I mean that's what they're for in a way. It's like one of the pins that I got one day was Lisa Simpson going with her outfit as if she was an attorney, saying the problem is with the really bad society. So she was actually saying bad about society, but she was like in kind of like as a lawyer in court.
Yeah.
But it's also Lisa Simpson, so it was like the whole thing. The problem is society, and it was just like people. It was a really great conversation starter, which is something that I think pins also are. they are potential conversation starters, and I mean, anyone who sees a pin will ask you about it, and they'll be like, oh, tell me more about it, or oh, I'm also a fan of such thing. So yes, please do use them sarcastically, please.
Yeah, there were also, you mentioned something interesting, conversation starters, and it also ends up bringing people together in the physical sense, because people need to go closer to watch the pin or
Yep,
see it. Okay, which now of
exactly.
course we cannot do. So you would like wear your
Don't wear
pins.
pins now.
No pin. Yeah, you can, but in online streams, as you do. Okay, but it creates like a special immediate relationship if you have
Yeah,
to
a bond. Yes,
come
absolutely,
nearer
absolutely. Yes,
and what it. Okay,
yes.
so we left you Friday. I also asked you what your big three words were
Hmm.
and about your project. So let's just present the project a bit more in depth, your querying style, which is amazing,
Thank you.
and so that people know how it started in a bit and how you got there.
Okay. I mean, I think I have to start from the start. So I always wanted to travel when I was younger. Like I was about 12 when I first started talking to my mom about going abroad and living somewhere else than Portugal, which is where I come from. And I always wanted to see the world, and the first time that I got the opportunity to live outside of Portugal was when I went to the UK to do a gender master's degree. And as I arrived, I was, I felt like I was living my dream. I was actually like, oh my God, I'm now doing it. It took me years and years and years to actually be able to do it, and then I did. And so I was feeling super liberated. I was feeling like, okay, I'm free now. I can be who I am, and also not only be who I am, but also discover who I am. Because I think that because I'm a triplet,
Mm-hmm.
so basically when my experience of
Wait,
being a trip
wait. There are three of you.
there's
Seriously.
there and we were born on the same day, more or less at the same time. And yeah, and I mean, we were always very my parents were always very strict with us. And I mean, it's imagine living as a girl is a very parents are very wary of girls.
Yeah,
And imagine what it's like when
it's
it's three of
restrictive in
us.
itself. It's
Yeah,
restrictive in itself. Just
exactly.
let me interrupt you 1 minute, because as people are commenting, I'm just gonna say hi, and I want to say hi to Y, who's asking how you are. Okay, go on.
Thank you.
I will interrupt you when
um,
there are any questions.
Absolutely, absolutely do, because I'm a talker. I will be like the entire time if you don't stop me. And okay, so basically we're always very confined to a certain, way home and stuff like that, because my parents were always very scared for us. They were afraid because not only we were three girls, but we weren't the only black girls in our community. So in my town, we were the only people our age who were not white. And so it was always very kind of different and strange. And my parents were always very protective of us. So I find that I never really had space to be who I was and to discover, to really like question myself. Is this what I really want? Is this who I really am? And so going to the UK and I mean, doing a master's on gender and queer theory was like, hello, the world is a different place than what you thought it was. And people just started noticing me because at the time I had my hair was really big. Like my afro was like this big.
Whoa.
Like I had hair,
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. Yeah,
And
we
yeah,
have a comment, and I would like to express that we are
okay.
knowledgeable of all these things, because someone's saying, uh, first of all, thank you because I like the stream. But they're also saying at least you have parents. Of course, we know there are
True.
people who have no parents,
True.
but we also know that we always have something to complain about our parents and or the people we live with. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sad when they're not no longer with us, of course.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. Well, my sentiments to all those people who are listening and do not have parents, and especially like days like today, which is Mother's Day, at least in Portugal. I mean, it's very important to acknowledge those people. So yes, I mean, it's very important to acknowledge that there are people who do not have mothers and who are maybe experience a hard time in this moment, and or have been going through a hard time. So my heart is with you. So thank you so much for your comment. And yeah, I mean, I feel like we all have different experiences with our parents, and I am very fortunate because not only my parents are still alive, not only they've not beaten me or been violent to me or anything like that, but they were people who nurtured me for at least my young age, which was very, very, very important for me to be able to become the person that I am today. So yeah, I feel like I'm very fortunate about that. After I came out, well, that was a different story, but uh, yeah, until I was 18, they were always very present, and they always worked a lot, but they also taught me about work ethics, which allowed me to then have the grades that I needed to go to the UK and have a master's there, and also, I mean, I speak fluent English because they taught me discipline, and so I totally feel fortunate for the opportunities that they gave me. Absolutely, absolutely. So as I was saying, when I moved to the UK, my hair was super big and super huge, and so people started noticing me a lot. People would stop me in the street and talk about my hair, and people would touch my hair on the street, like when I would be on the club, like dancing and stuff, and people would just like shove their hands in my hair, and it's not very comfortable, but I was just noticed everywhere I went.
yeah,
And so some of my colleagues at university, they started saying, look, why don't you start a blog? And Tumblr was huge at the time. So this was 2014. It was super huge, and people were just kind of like going back and forth. That I needed to do something. People would definitely identify with someone like me, and there was not many people like me out there. And so I just started Queering Style, and the name wasn't Queering Style. The name was Diaries of a Big Hair Girl or something like that.
yeah, that's all. Your logo is also yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, it was a big part of it, but as I realized people get noticing my hair, I also started noticing how I felt more comfortable with masculine clothing, which is something that I wasn't so aware of until I went to the UK. So it was really interesting how the fact that people were noticing my hair, and then with the gender master's degree, and me also kind of going into this kind of more masculine presentation. And so I started wearing clothes that supposedly women shouldn't wear. So, and that's one of the reasons that I brought the bow tie with me today.
I've
This is
always
something.
found something interesting. Now that you mentioned that women shouldn't wear,
Yeah.
but there is something interesting about that because if we follow that train of thought, we shouldn't be wearing trousers as well. And
Sure.
there's always this misconception out about not misconception, but this taboo about when men wearing skirts, if unless it's a kilt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
Yeah,
we have a bit more
absolutely.
liberty there.
No, absolutely, absolutely. But I also feel like, when we are children, and how little girls are always very obliged to wear dresses and skirts.
Yeah.
You know, like it's true that now we are able to wear trousers. I mean, it came with the movement of liberation for women, but also, I mean, there's still a lot of pressure for little girls and for women to present feminine. You know, to wear dresses, to wear. I used to work with kids in a foster care, and I was present there like every day. So they were living in a place that I managed, and one of the conversations that always popped up was, why was I wearing a certain thing? Why would I present in a certain way? And when one girl one day asked me why she had never seen me wear a dress, you know, and then my more feminine presenting colleague was like, well, I never wore a dress and you never asked me that, you know. But she was it's true, but she was more like feminine presenting, so she had longer hair, you know. She would wear t-shirts with cleavages and stuff like that, which is something that I never did. And so one day a girl asked me like, why do I never see you with dresses? And I think that's really, 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 really important to kind of question and try and understand why that happens. And so it was a very kind of natural kind of curve to go from, you know, me kind of given the opportunity to experiment with clothing, and then finding out that I actually felt much more comfortable wearing men's clothes, or the said men's clothes. And then it was really cool, because the moment I started putting my pictures out there, people started following, and people started commenting on how they never seen anyone my color, my size, my hair, you know, presenting in a masculine way, you know. So it was something that I realized very quickly that people were missing, you know.
Yeah. I've had some feedback from Friday, by the way, and now I have another question, so they sort of come together.
Okay.
The feedback on Friday was very mature for her age, and which brings us to the question of today, which is, how old are you?
33.
33. Okay, so.
Yeah, but I look 22.
And you act
So-
like.
And I act like a 50-year-old. True fact. I'm an old soul, like people say. I mean, I have the privilege of blackness. You know the saying where people go like, black don't crack.
Yeah.
I totally am that person. You know, I mean, there's people who still don't believe that I'm like older than 20. And so when I show them my ID card, they always go like, no, I can't believe it. Da-da-da-da. So it's really interesting to kind of, I mean, as in my work, that also happens a lot. You know, people come to me for advice, and I mean, I support a lot of people. But I mean, one of the funniest stories I have is when I would go with kids to the doctor. And, you know, we're talking about 12, 13-year-old kids, but 12 and 13-year-old kids now look 20 sometimes, you know?
The tweens are the new teens, and the teens look older.
Absolutely. And so the doctors would go like, so you came with your friend? And I'd be like, actually, well, yeah.
Let's go back a bit and to the project, so that we don't wander around a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I told you that I was a talker, so.
Yeah, I know. I'm here to stop you and guide you in the right direction.
Yes.
So query
go
style,
on.
what do you put in it, the content? You have the page, you have your Facebook page, and you have extraordinary articles there. And so what is your content?
Yeah, so when I realized that people were very hungry for my image and for what I represented to them, which is like an intersection of so many things, I realized that I needed to do a website. And when I moved back to Portugal, I decided that I was going to create Queering Style. And so Queering Style was a portal, really, a second home for people who identified with the same things that I identify with. So maybe not feeling 100% good or well in their bodies, with their assigned presentation, with their assigned gender. People who had a look into life that was a bit different or queer.
Yeah.
So that's why it's Queering Style. And for those who don't know what queer is, so queer started as a bad word called to men who acted effeminate.
Yeah.
So, and it means weird, it means strange, it means, odd. And so it was actually reclaimed by gays, by LGBT people,
Well, I
to
think it's
represent.
sort of the same that happened with the word gay, which
Yeah,
happy.
absolutely, absolutely. But it was. I mean, queer was even a more derogatory term,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. And when it was repurposed, when it was reclaimed by us, it was also a way to say, well, it's not a bad thing to be different. Actually, difference should be celebrated. And why are we so invested in maintaining this so-called normal?
Exactly.
And why can't we question it? And so queer comes in to question what people call the normal, the norms. Why do they exist? Why is it that we are so invested in maintaining them? And so Queering Style is both things. So it's a way to question. So queering, as in questioning. So I'm questioning things. I'm questioning these norms. I'm questioning, why is it that I can't wear a tie? Why is it that I can't wear a bow tie? And then style, because it is about visibility. It is about how what I wear on the outside showcases who I am inside. And also, how is it that me presenting this way is breaking these norms, is questioning these norms, and is saying to people that difference may look like me, and it's fine. It's not threatening. It's not bad. It's not something that people should be afraid of, but something people should embrace. And so I really find it interesting because, like, I am a baby face woman that presents masculine without it being, toxic, and without being, aggressive.
Yeah.
Because I'm not, like, I'm the sweetest, little person anywhere. So so people just kind of find it kind of wow, so Queering Style was that place, was a place where we could question these norms, and why is it that, masculinity is only for men? And why is it that men can be sweet and caring, And so that's why we had so much content. We had all sorts of articles that would, bring these questions to the table. But then we also talked about art. We also talked about music. We also talked about television and pop culture. Yeah. We also talked about events. Where are the places where we can go and we can be ourselves? But then it was also about style. It was also about, if you want to go to a wedding, your cousin is getting married, the third cousin of the third, person that you don't know who they are.
Portuguese traditions, yeah.
Exactly. But you have to go, or, your parents asked you to go. And so it's interesting because so there's so many people who wouldn't want to wear like a dress or, a feminine suited something. And so people were very much like, oh my God, what am I going to wear? And so what I also gave them was, style diaries.
Yeah.
For occasions like that. So for instance, how can you still look feminine without wearing feminine clothes? So you can actually do a pink blazer and some gray pants, and then off when you're off church, you can just take off the blazer and showcase your braces or suspenders depending on where you are in the world.
Mhm.
And feel comfortable about who you are and feel comfortable about what you're wearing, even though you are in a space where supposedly you should be
Very
wearing a
formal.
dress.
Yeah.
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 So it was also a place like that, and also like I gave a lot of space on queering style for other people to participate. So we had style profiles where we would showcase other people that also had different styles. Like there is this chef who only wore button up shirts that she bought at Feira de Ladra, the
Yeah.
secondhand
Yeah.
fair in Lisbon. I showcased this I was preparing an article on this woman. She's like 55, and she only wears like African patterns,
Yeah.
and she's amazing. And so it's really about how is it that style is something, because I mean, when we think about style and we think about fashion, we think about this very oppressive, kind of system where all the models are very thin and young and super tall, and their measurements are super something something
Yeah.
something prescribed. And then what you're saying here, or what I say with queering style, is that no, actually fashion can help you show who you are, and with queering fashion, with queering style, we can actually bring these questions up and adopt a style that is us, that is not something that people tell us we need to be doing. And so it was a very big discovery for me that was even a possibility, you know, um, that we could actually, that fashion could actually be that, a place of freedom, a place of expression, you know. And so when spring style was that place for me, it's like, as I was discovering me and as I was discovering my style, I also was doing queering style. And the only thing that I did was I wrote about it. I wrote about my experience. People identified with it. People liked it, but it wasn't for people to like it. It wasn't for other people to identify with it. It was, I needed a place to express myself. I needed a place where I needed to talk about these changes that I was going through.
Yeah.
And queering style was that platform, you know?
And it
And
has
then,
become, as I understood, also a platform for you now to help others in that
yeah,
process.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I've been doing activism for the past decade. So I've been part of LGBT organizations for the past 11, 12 years. And it's really interesting because many people are afraid of activism. Many people are afraid of organizations and institutions. So queering style was also a platform where people would just, identify with the subject, and they would be like, oh, I see that, I recognize myself. So there is a pathway for us to have a conversation. And so we would um, receive a lot of requests from people, not only to support them, what am I going to wear at the wedding, or what do I do if I want to change my entire wardrobe, where are the things that I need to keep, etc. So I get a lot of questions like that. But then also, like, how do I deal with parents that do not allow me to be who I am? How do I deal with, kids in school that are bullying me because I'm not, presenting in a certain way, or my gender expression is not a certain way? How do I tell my parents that I am gay? How do I tell my parents that I'm a lesbian? And so what we did was we always tried to support them the best we could, and especially we tried to support them with telling them what are the possibilities out there. So there are a ton of organizations in Portugal that help. There's a parents organization called Amplos, and that organization helps a lot of parents dealing with kids that do not conform to a certain gender or have a different sexuality. You have Rede Execo, which is a youth organization who support a lot of kids, but also go to schools and talk about sexuality with teachers and kids through their education project. Yeah. You have ILGA Portugal, who also have support with lawyers and psychologists.
So you probably there will be similar organizations in any country.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Europe has a lot of youth organizations. There's an European organization called IGLIO, and IGLIO kind of combines all the European youth organizations in Europe. Yeah. And they not only support these organizations, but they also help if anyone gets in contact. They also like tell you which organizations are working in your country and what kind of support they'll give you, which is
interesting to know.
Yeah.
For those watching us.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have our context for queering styles. It's very interesting. And so from what I gather, you do a lot of things. So
sure.
Projects, working at schools, working at foster homes. What are you doing right now? What is your project at the moment that keeps you going?
Oh my God, I'm going to talk about half an hour about it because I'm super excited with it.
No. Now we have more questions. So
I'm super excited with it. Okay, so I'm doing two really cool things at the moment. Well, they're cool for me, of course. So I am working on a study of LGBT youth and children.
Yeah.
And so the University of Coimbra is doing this study. It's called Diversity in Childhood. And we're basically studying ways in which services can support LGBT youth and teenagers, but also children, if they present or if they are LGBT or questioning. So how do you make places like schools, sports clubs, how do you make hospitals and health centers more welcoming to LGBT youth and children? So we're basically starting a study where we are going to look at what we are doing to support LGBT youth and children, but then also what is it that we can do better, and try and not only create a bunch of guidance so that we can do a better work and a better service, but also we want to give training to these people. So doctors, teachers, healthcare professionals, whichever, cops. We also working with the police force and the media, which is also super cool. Journalists. So that we can have a better understanding of how can we support LGBT youth and children in Portugal and in another 9 countries
that sounds
in Europe.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have another session in the future and see how that one goes. Okay, so going back a bit, because we were talking about children and sexuality, and we do have a question, what do you think about depression, from one of our viewers? Not sure, maybe more specifically, I think it may relate to depression in teenagers or in general. So when you get someone who comes to you and you can tell the person is depressed, what do you think? What do you try and what advice do you try to give the person? Or the steps that should be followed, where the person should go?
When people are depressed, first of all, I think I think it's very hard for people first to notice that they are depressed. You know, it's a very difficult path to realizing and accepting that you are depressed. And so, first of all, I would say that if you think that you might be experiencing feelings like unmotivation, irritability, nothing really makes you happy and fulfilled, and if those feelings are very what's the word?
Strong.
Strong, and if they prevail in time, so it's not something that I feel now, but in a bit I'm good and I'm okay, then. But so if they're prevalent in time, then you should try and understand if you are depressed. I think there's still a lot of stigma around these kinds of feelings. We look in Instagram and everybody's always so happy, and look what I'm doing now, and look at the traveling that I'm going to be doing next month, and the concert that I went to, and blah blah blah. So people, I think feel very pressured to be happy and to feel happy.
Yeah.
And so I think it's very difficult for you to accept that you're not.
And
so
sometimes if you mention it, then you get comments like, "Don't be a whiner."
Exactly. And I think so I think that's the first step, just to know that it's okay. It's okay to feel that way. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay that nothing really seems to be in the right place. It's okay if people talk to you and you just want to say, fuck you, don't talk to me. Like, I have no patience for you, which, if it's very prevalent, may mean that you just don't want the world to know that you exist. And if you don't want the world to know that you exist, then maybe you're depressed.
Yeah.
And so,
what would you suggest the person to do next? Because I think next step would be ask for help.
Yeah, absolutely ask for help. And I think it's most people would tell you go for professional help straight away, but I would say try and talk to someone that is close to you first. So try and find that friend that will never judge you, that will always be there for you. Find that person that you trust, and can support you, and try and talk back with them about the feelings that you're having. I mean, if you have someone, sometimes people even go and talk to strangers. I just met you online, but I feel like maybe I can talk to you about this. So try and find someone that you can talk to.
Let me just interrupt you, because our viewers is saying that, making some comments. We will in the future feature one show about the black dog, and as you know, the black dog is another word for depression. So we will have a full show on it. So just keep tuned. I don't have the dates yet, and I have a very special guest to talk about it. And we will address this topic really in one of the shows. So for our viewers who are watching this and accompanying the chat, so be on the lookout. And this is not today's topic, but we will address it in the future. We will.
Yeah, I'm not an expert. This is what works for some people that I've supported. This is what works for me. I've had really bad experiences with professionals, either because they don't get that I'm black, either because they don't get that I'm a lesbian, either because they don't get that I work in a certain way, and so I've kind of kept myself away from professional psychologists. But that's my experience also,
But there are many great psychologists and psychiatrists.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And so to me, what worked was this process, okay? And then when you're feeling, for me, it's like when I really realized, and for the people that I've talked to, when they realize, okay, I'm safe, I can go and ask for help, I'm not crazy, or I'm not, out of the ordinary, and or being stupid, or being, too much. I'm gonna ask for help, and it's very, very, very important. I mean, the other day I was talking to a health professional, a psychiatrist, and she was telling me, Alexa, depression is like any other illness, any other thing that, if your tummy is aching, you go to the doctor. If you can't breathe, you go to the doctor. If you can't see, you go to the doctor. Why is it that when you can't function in a standard that you feel fulfilled and, well, even if not happy, at least content and satisfied, then something's wrong. So you need to go to the doctor because something's not okay.
I think that brings us back to the keyword, and we sort of coming back to one of our topics. I think the keyword would be stigma.
Yeah.
Why is there still so much stigma around? And going back to the queering style project, are you waiting for the day when queering style is not needed anymore?
Yes.
Although it's your project and your baby.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I hope I live. I hope I'm living.
When I say queering style, and for our viewers, I think the same applies to how people view mental conditions and mental illnesses and all the stigmas. So are we waiting for the day when these stigmas may disappear?
Yes. I mean, when it comes to feelings, I'm always very much like, I very much like to say, I wish and I hope to live the day where you can feel things, when it's okay to feel, and it's not being happy or, ecstatic or excited. It's feeling shitty and worthless. And, the fact that you can feel things means that it's okay to feel anything, good or bad, I mean, for me,
one doesn't go without the other.
Exactly. So why is it that we praise so much happiness, but then we look down on people that are sad? It's like, what do you mean? I mean, thank God that I'm feeling things, not thank God, but thanks to my heart and my brain that function, but I mean, it's really important to feel things. It's really hard for me and specifically and very individually, my experience is sometimes I feel sad and I try and talk to people about my sadness or what I'm feeling, and people immediately try and find a solution for it. And it makes me feel unlistened and not understood, because it's like, I'm just feeling this. I don't need to solve it. I need to go through it. I need to be able to have this experience,
Yeah.
And people most of the times just go like, oh no, but you don't you want to feel better? And I'm like, I will in time. Like, and that's okay.
When you go to sleep, you stay in the dark, and it's part of the process. And then you turn on the lights when you get up or not. So
Exactly. And there will be days where you'll need 12 hours sleep, and then there will be days where you need 4 or 5. And that's okay, and that's perfectly okay. And I really, really, really feel like stigma has to do with this idea of what our standard is, but then our standard is set at a place where very few can get there.
Yeah.
It's a place of,
and probably even those few get there on the outside.
Absolutely. I mean, none of us have a life that is by the book. But then we also don't know what book is it, because no one ever read it. We're just told that there's a book, and this book tells us about these things that we need to follow. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I think those are things that we need to really be able to one day, hopefully, we'll be able to deconstruct them and dismantle completely, just brick by brick, little by little, until we end the stigma. But to end the stigma, we need to end the standard, you
Oh,
know.
yeah, let me pick up on those bricks. So we've had a few
Hmm.
bricks. You mentioned one on Friday where the
Hmm.
LGBT movement helped the miners. So if anyone wants to know about that, you can watch the show. Um, but we've had a few huge breaks in music, and as this is Global Music Club, I think it's appropriate to talk about it because I think music was a great way of helping. And I'm thinking particularly of the 80s. I don't know if you, and the 60s and 70s, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
if we look at David Bowie and
Yes.
that album cover that was censored because he was wearing a dress,
Hmm.
that famous cover. But I think 80s ended up being a very special decade
Hmm.
with bands like Erasure and coming up and really saying we are homosexual, and we had duels. And what's your take on that?
I
And
think
any
it's
other breaks that you may bring to the table?
I really think that music is a safe haven for so many of us. I think so many of us see in the people that make music, l- you know, not only a way out, but also hope. I mean, thinking about those people that are making music today and are out and or are very great allies of LGBT people and talk about our existence and about our lives and about the ways we love. I mean, when Lady Gaga says I was born this way and my mama told me when I was young that I was going to be a superstar. I mean, how many young people haven't danced to that,
Yeah,
and said, "Wow!" And I mean, Katy Perry and "I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It" was like the hit song, in 2000 and I don't even know 9. I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, how many lesbians have heard that and went like, maybe that's me, and it's okay because Katy Perry is singing about it,
yeah,
So I really think it's music is a way not only of expressing oneself and of creating culture, but also a way to make people who are outsiders on the inside, especially if they're mainstream, if they get to the mainstream.
yeah.
I mean, there's so many artists, who are also questioning the standards of beauty, who are fat, who are, dressing in a certain way, and stuff like that, who really make you go, okay,
But do you think that we are
difference is
so
okay.
slightly going back to that part of the 60s where we had all these movements and social concerns?
I am afraid we are not. And I say this because I think that all the movements that are for difference are happening at the same time that movements of very big oppression and fascism and, right wing politics are also taking place. So I think we live in a clash world where we can have a discussion on difference and freedom and intersectionality and stuff like that, but then we also are always met with a lot of violence, with a lot of conservatism. Is that the word? Conservatism? I
Yeah.
don't know. Oh my god! When your brain goes like, yeah, that kind of happened. So yeah, so I think it's I think one thing that is very important to know and to always be aware of is that nothing is for granted, and none of our liberties are set in stone.
Yeah, and
And
I think that this time is a very good example of that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that we're now living in a world with a global pandemic, first of all, tells us a lot about the world. It tells us a lot about how there are no frontiers, even though countries are so set and so interested in maintaining borders.
Yeah.
There aren't any, you know. There really aren't. And one of the reasons this pandemic is so different from whatever ever happened in the world is that it is really global. I mean, it started one place and now it exists in other so remote places, you know, like the Amazon forest. I mean, there are cases of the pandemic in the Amazonic forest. I mean, really? Like, how does that even and so I think that it's very important to understand that the world is really not what it used to be.
And
It's
it won't be
yeah.
after this.
And if this pandemic also allowed us to see anything, is that even the governments that we think are the most socialists and are, the ones that care the most for the people and have the better, politics for the people, are also very much just interested in capitalist issues and in not making the economy die. So we do live in a world threatened with fascism. We do live in a neoliberal capitalist society, not just in one country, but globally. And we do have all our liberties in danger, and they can be taken away from us like that.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been looking at you the whole show, and that bow tie is amazing. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to see. So that small thingy that you have there on the bow tie,
Yeah.
a flower,
It's a pin.
a pin. Oh, it had to be a pin, of course.
You need to go and watch the show
So yes,
that we did on Friday.
yeah.
And this is one of the ways that I like to wear, because this is one of the ways that I like to wear pins. And this one is a little star, and it has rainbow dots.
I couldn't see
So
them
it's
very well. Yeah, now I can. Yeah.
yeah. So it's one of those things, it's very it doesn't have to be a very big statement, but just the fact that it's here, it's like, if you haven't noticed that I'm wearing a men's shirt, if you don't understand that, I'm wearing a bow tie, which is self-tie, by the way. It's not a clip-on. It's actually self-tie. I tied it myself. And if you haven't understood that means that I'm LGBT, then I have the rainbow.
So just to make sure.
If you haven't picked up on it, now you know.
Okay. So you did that yourself?
I did.
Okay, so I'm guessing what our next topic will be on Friday.
Bow ties!
Bow ties!
Yes!
Yeah. Nice. Okay, Alexa, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's anything else you would like to share.
No, I hope to see everyone on Friday, and that we get to have more conversations like this if you want.
Of course.
I love you, and I love talking to you, so.
Yeah. Oh, I have one more question, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, one more. Oh my God. Because we were talking about, and it also has to do with our viewer who said he spent the whole day listening to music and because of the depression. And I think there are so many different things that we never thought of that we can pick up to challenge ourselves. And I do know that you have a very, I would call, not unique because more people do it, but I had never heard of it. You have a very unique pastime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about it.
Oh my God, which one?
I just went down to my fridge, and I looked at it and I said,
Oh,
that little thing you gave me, and it's still there.
Yeah.
Yes, it's in Portuguese, but it says chill. So tell us
Yes.
about that one.
Okay, so I letter. Well,
So,
I
so,
I
so that our viewers can also maybe try and find activities and
Yep.
hobbies that can challenge
Yeah.
them and make them feel a bit better.
Yeah, well, I write letters. I design letters. I don't even know how to call. I mean, it's called lettering, but I used to spend a lot of time in line and in services and like social services and stuff like that with the kids. And so I started drawing letters, because I was never very good at drawing people and architecture or flowers, or I was ever really interested about it. So I started. I always liked to write, but I never really even had a really great calligraphy. And but with time, and I just, you just start, you know, with nothing, and you have a pen and you just start doing letters, and then with time, well, I've been doing it for, I don't know, 4 years now, 3 years, 4 years now. And it's one of those things where I just sit and for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. And that's also something else that I want to say, which is you won't have amazing letters like the ones you see on videos and, professional designers do after one or two or three or four takes. And if you spend more time with letters, they will become better. And so, with time, I've been able to perfect myself, but I also don't want my letters to be perfection. I just want to have this thing that I do sometimes in my free time.
Yeah.
And so, but I did one to you, but I just came out of my room and I don't have I actually wanted to show it to you. Can I have like 30 seconds so I can get it?
Please do.
Okay.
Yeah, please do.
30 seconds. I'm gonna go run.
Okay, while Alexa gets her piece of paper, I think. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow. On Mondays, our topic is all about rhythm with Bo, and we will have our second tip on drumming. So last week's show was about how to hold your drumsticks. So let's see what he will bring us tomorrow. Our topics are weekly. So Mondays drumming. On Tuesdays, we do have a weekly review on an album or a song. On Wednesdays, we have Dark Zone Speaks Live with a special guest every week. Thursdays, we have guitar lessons for those who are interested and have that guitar at home and never picked it up. On Fridays, we have our Alexa with the fashion tips. And on Saturdays, we have a special feature about goth culture. And Alexa's back, so let's see what she has for us.
So I was very like I wanted to do a style of letter that I felt was coincident with what the project is. So I hope you like it.
Whoa, that is nice. It's something you like. It's a way of life. Nice. I love the lettering. Really, you outdid yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I want a picture of that.
Okay, I will. I'll take it. I'll take one and I'll send it to you.
Can I just say one
Um.
thing?
Yeah.
Don't be angry. Just put a second B in it.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the teaching part of it. Yeah. No, but it's beautiful, really. I mean, that lettering. I've seen you do many styles, and that's really a special one. Thank you.
Yeah. It's
I,
it's it's I had never really tried it, and I saw a few, when you start seeing a few different ones,
Mhm.
and I kind of made a mix match of a couple, and I think the result is really cute,
Yeah.
actually.
So for our viewers, and again, going to the black dog and the stigma and how difficult it is to deal with some stuff in life, especially at this time where most of us are on lockdown. So there are some activities and some hobbies that you may pick up and and maybe it is the one that will give you some purpose. I know for me it was photography. I took it up a couple of years back, 5 years maybe, I think. And I'm doing concert photography now. So maybe you just have to open your eyes a bit and go around and look for something new and think out of the box mainly, I think. And that's what we're doing today with this show, thinking out of the box with Alexa. Okay?
Thank you so much for inviting me and everyone that watched and will watch. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we will see you next Friday then with your bow ties. And don't forget to bring a few pins
I will.
because you promised you to bring some.
I will.
Okay.
I will.
See you.
Bye.
Bye. And for our viewers, don't forget to tune in tomorrow for our second lesson on drums with Bob. Thank you very much for watching. This is Crow from Global Music Club. See you tomorrow, 9 p.m. UK, 4 p.m. EST USA. Bye.